Oh, hey guys, how's it going? Happy almost New Year. Today's date is November 27th. It will be probably New Year's or close to New Year's by the time that you see this video. Christmas was a couple days ago, so if you celebrate, Merry Christmas. Personally, I don't. Whatever. But in today's video, I want to talk about the coming New Year. I want to talk about something that a lot of people like to talk about when New Year rolls around, and that is habit building. And personally, I am very anti New Year's resolution. I think that New Year's resolutions are really kind of dumb, if I'm being honest. First of all, I don't think that anything special happens at New Year's. I think that the calendar changes 12 times a year, and whether it's going from October to November or November to December or December to January, I just don't see the big deal. So that's for starters. But specifically where it comes to resolutions, I just don't see the need to have an event occur in order for you to start to make positive changes in your life and to start to work on yourself in the way that you want to work on yourself. So with everything that I'm going to say in this video, I want to preface it by saying that if there are habits that you are trying to build, if there are skills you are trying to learn, if there are things you are trying to accomplish, don't wait until New Year's. Like even right now, even a couple of days prematurely, don't feel the need to wait. You can start changing things anytime you want. You can start working on yourself every day. Today is as good a day as any other. Yesterday was even better. And with that said, if New Year's comes and goes and you don't start to work on the things you want to, definitely don't take it as a reason to wait a whole nother year to start over. Don't look at it as, oh, well, January came and went and I screwed up. Start now, start then, start yesterday, start tomorrow, start next week. It doesn't really matter.
Just do it!
With all of that said, let's get into it. The very first habit is a really common one, and it's one that I've had a lot of mixed success with over the past years. There's been times when I've been really good and times when I've been really bad, and it's just simply drinking more water. Something that I've always struggled with is staying hydrated. I'm pretty sure that I am chronically dehydrated at all times and that I have been for most of my life, but I'm somebody who just doesn't seem to get thirsty very often, and I know that they say that when you do feel thirsty, you're already dehydrated, and so when I do feel thirsty, I feel like I'm super dehydrated. There have been periods of time in my life, a couple months, even a couple years at a time, where I've been pretty consistent with it, and I found that where I was best at drinking water is when I was working retail jobs. And I would almost use it as like a punishment for myself in a way where I'd go, okay, well, I have a break coming up at X time. Let's say I have a break coming up in an hour. I'm not going to allow myself to take my break until I finish at least one bottle of water. But now that my schedule is different, I find that I struggle to hold myself accountable to drinking more water, and that I rarely think about it. At my best, I was drinking 4 or 5 500 ml bottles of water a day. Now I struggle to get even one 500 ml glass of water in, so I'm trying my best. Some days are better than others, but that's always probably going to be a work in progress for me. Habit number 2 is another one that I have been working on and struggled with for the majority of my life, and it is going to bed early. And I think it's important to point out that everybody has their own natural cycle, natural sleep routines. And I think that if work and jobs and schedules weren't a thing the way that they were, I think that people would sleep differently in general. I think that sleeping, 8 hours straight overnight and then not at all for 16 hours and then 8 hours again overnight, I don't think that's a very natural thing. But I recognize that people have different patterns and different routines that their body naturally sinks into. Some people are early birds, that's the word I'm looking for. Some people are early birds, some people are night owls. I personally have always been more energized and active and alert at night. Unfortunately, I'm also very deep into what is known as revenge bedtime procrastination. Basically this thing where you come home from work and you only have a couple hours before you go to bed, and that when you go to bed, you're gonna have to wake up the next morning and go straight back to work. And so you try to prolong your nighttime, try to prolong your evening hours in anticipation of delaying the whole sequence of going to sleep, waking up just to go back to work thing. And it's self-sabotage at the end of the day because you wind up staying up way too late and then you feel even worse in the morning, and I'm trying to get better at it. And the main reason I'm trying to get better at it is because of habit number 3, which I have also been trying to build, which is getting up earlier. Again, this is something that I have struggled with for a very long time, and on the odd occasion that I am actually able to get up a little bit earlier, I find that it's beneficial, that my mental health has definitely improved. I feel happier, more alert, more energetic, more productive, all of those good things. But doing it is the hard part, actually making it happen. I know that I'll enjoy it if I do it, but actually just getting out of bed in the morning is something I have always struggled with, which is understandable when I'm going to bed way too late to begin with. So by going to bed earlier, hopefully I'll be able to wake up a little bit earlier as well. Habit number 4 is one that I know that a lot of people are trying to work on, and it's less screen time. But for me specifically, it's not even so much about the screen times, it's about having more real life. I find that it's very easy to just become complacent and lethargic and to kind of find an excuse to lie around all day, scrolling on your phone or scrolling on your computer. And there's so many better things you can be doing. But particularly again, in the winter months here where it's cold and it's dismal and it's dark, I can find a million reasons not to leave the house. I can think, well, hey, you know what? I should go grocery shopping. Okay, I'll do it after I check Facebook just one more time, or after I look on Reddit just one more time, or after I just watch this one more YouTube video. Okay, well then just one more after that, and before you know it, it's like, well, it's dark and it's cold now, I'm not gonna leave the house. But for me, what I'm trying to do is prioritize going out, living my life, doing things in real life, and then using screen time to fill the space in between, rather than vice versa, which is unfortunately what I've been doing for a while now. Habit number 5 that I'm trying to build is moving more, being more active. And honestly, this isn't something I struggle at all with in the summer. In fact, it comes quite naturally to me. I tend to spend a lot of time outside, both for work and for pleasure. When I'm home, I will take Levi for super long walks. In fact, it is one of my absolute favorite things to do. It's not at all unusual for us to go 5, 6, 7, even 8 kilometers in a day just for fun. I find that it makes me feel really good, both physically and mentally. But once again, once the winter months roll around, I can find pretty much every excuse to not move, and it's really bad for my mental and physical health. Not only does it make me feel really bummed out and lethargic and depressed, but my body hurts. And so I'm trying to set a goal of moving more, but I think that what's really important when you set habits and set goals is not to overshoot the runway. And I think that's a really important thing, not just with activity, but with any habit you're trying to form. It's very easy for you to look at what you're doing and look at what you'd like to be doing and set that as the first goal. So going back to the water thing, for example, it would be very easy for me to say, hey, you know what? I should be drinking 5 glasses of water a day, and maybe I should be. But if I'm barely drinking 1 right now, jumping from 1 to 5 is probably not realistic, and even if I can do it short term, it's not going to be sustainable. And so something that I think is very important when you're building new habits or building new routines or trying to improve yourself overall is to set very small, very approachable goals. And so where the movement is concerned, again, this is mostly just an issue for me in the winter months, but it would be very easy for me to say, well, I should be exercising for at least an hour a day, getting my heart rate up, and that's probably true, but it's not realistic. I'm not gonna go from spending all day on the couch inside hiding from the sunlight, whatever sunlight we have, which is not very much, to running an hour all at once. So I wanna set small goals. And right now that might look like doing a little bit of stretching in the morning, or maybe trying to do a 20-minute beginner yoga thing on YouTube. Whatever it is you're trying to work on, don't shoot for the finish line all at once. Shoot for those small checkpoints that eventually lead you to the finish line. If you shoot too far ahead, you're going to fail almost immediately. You're going to be discouraged and you're not going to even bother continuing to try. So make small little goals and keep that momentum rolling. Habit number 6 that I'm building is trying to relax more. I don't mean that in the physical sense, because like I was just saying, I tend to spend plenty of time on the couch. I mean about giving myself a break. I mean mentally. I mean not stressing so much, not being so hard on myself, not being so critical. I'm somebody who tends to be my toughest critic for sure. I set wildly unrealistic expectations for myself in my work, in my personal life, in the things that I should be able to achieve, and in the capacity to which I should be able to achieve them. And it's exhausting and it's stressful and it leads to burnout. And I recognize that very rarely does anybody's expectations for me come anywhere close to the expectations I have for myself. For example, right now I am on vacation, and believe it or not, this is the first vacation time I have ever taken in more than 10 years. This is the first planned vacation time I have had off since I graduated high school in 2010. And that sounds crazy because it is crazy. And to be totally fair, I haven't always been as busy with work as I am now. I've worked other jobs. I haven't always been in the same field that I'm in now. And there have certainly been a couple times over the last 10 or 11 years where just by happenstance, I had a number of days off in a row, maybe even up to 5, 6, 7 days. I'm sure that it has happened, but this is the very first time I've ever taken planned vacation time off. And when I say vacation, I'm not going anywhere, obviously, but just planned time off. And that's crazy. And that's nonsensical, and nobody would ever expect that of me, but somehow I wear it like this badge that I'm not actually even proud of being able to say, oh yeah, you know, I'm a workaholic. And if you know me, you know that I'm not actually, but I do try very hard. It's a weird paradox that I live in where I don't want to work, I don't like to work, I want to have more time to myself, but while I'm working, I care very much about doing a really good job and coming across as somebody who's very dedicated and taking it very seriously. So I want to relax more. I want to give myself more time off. I've just recognized now that I probably would have actually enjoyed having time off more in the summertime than I would right now, because I'd have more things to do and more outside time to enjoy. And so I'm planning to take another week off, or at least a couple days off in the summertime. See, I'm already contradicting myself going a week. Well, maybe just a couple days. I need to get it together. But I want to be able to take a couple breaks throughout the year. It also means accepting that, for example, if a client emails me, I'm not obligated to respond immediately. That if it takes me a day or 2 days or even 3 days to get back to them, so be it. That if I have a voicemail waiting there, I don't have to feel anxious going, oh my gosh, somebody's looking for me. I can get back to them when I have time to get back to them. And if I don't get back to them at all, you know what, life goes on. There will always be another client, another day, another dollar. I've always had this paranoia of losing a client, losing a business opportunity, losing a lead. And the truth is that it's not practical and it's not realistic and it's not necessary and it's not sustainable. So I need to learn to relax and to let my guard down a little bit and live my life with a little bit less stress and with caring a little bit less about what other people supposedly think of me, because the truth is they probably don't think those things anyways. I don't think that anybody's impressed by somebody not taking time off in 10 years. I think that looks crazy. And I'm just now starting to recognize that. Habit number 7 is to say yes more. I'm somebody who chronically overthinks things. I decompartmentalize everything in my brain to a degree that is probably not healthy or normal. And I tend to get stressed out about things as a result of overthinking them. And so something I want to start to do a little bit more is just say yes, not think so much, just go with it, be a little bit more spontaneous, be a little bit more easygoing, and recognize that most things are not that big of a deal, and that saying yes to most things is not going to affect the trajectory of my life, or probably even my year, or probably even my week. Just say yes, just do it, be more open to new experiences, be more open to trying different things, meeting new people, and just live life a little bit more and stop being so uptight. With that said, habit number 8 that I'm trying to build is to actually say no more and to be more confident and comfortable saying it. And I know that sounds contrary to what I just said, but I mean it in a whole different way. I want to say yes to more good things, but I want to also be able to confidently say no to the things that make me uncomfortable, that I'm not cool with, that I'm not good with, that I don't want to do, to not feel guilty, and to be able to confidently say no, to just know that it's okay to say no, and that I'm ultimately the only person who gets to call the shots in my life. I'm the only person who gets to decide how I spend my time, where I spend my time, and who I spend my time with. And that saying no is perfectly normal and natural and healthy and totally okay to do. Habit number 9 is to start reading more books. And I mean that both in the sense of education and in pleasure. I'm somebody who really believes that my education started the day that I left school. I know that sounds a little contrary to popular opinion, but school I find to be a very oppressive thing. I find that it's very structured. Every student is taught the exact same thing, the exact same way, with no nuance to what you may or may not need to know, what may or may not suit your life, what you may or may not be passionate or interested in, and whether or not you're actually absorbing the information in the way it's being taught to you.
He's wrong! You're wrong! The whole damn system is wrong! Ah!
And so the moment that I left high school and I never went back, I didn't even go to my graduation ceremony or my prom, I basically turned in my last exam and booked it out of there and never looked back again. And the day that I did that, I became a free agent and I became somebody who was fully responsible for their own time for the first time ever. It was the first time in my life that I didn't have somewhere to be or something to do or other people having expectations of me. I no longer had to learn things that were irrelevant to my life or that I didn't care about or wasn't going to use. And I now had the opportunity and the time and the resources to learn absolutely anything I wanted in the way that is interesting to me, in the way that is relevant to me, in the way that is going to suit me and suit my life. And that goes for things that are going to help me in business and in work, and it goes for things that are going to help me just in my personal life and just skills and hobbies and interests that I have now the opportunity to pursue. That's going to be what allows your brain to grow and to expand and allows you to grow as a person and allows your worldview to open up and your mind to open up. I really believe that in the last 11 years that I've been out of school, I've learned so much more than I did in like the 15 or however many years prior to that I spent in school, where everything was so regimented and strict and uptight. And now I know about all sorts of things that I feel make me a better, well-rounded, better adjusted adult human than I ever learned in school, like trigonometry, because who freaking cares about trigonometry? And I think it's also great to indulge in fiction books, read novels, read fluff content, read whatever it is that makes you happy. Personally, I have gotten into thriller books. They're a little cheesy and a little predictable, but I think it's a great way to allow you to unwind and relax. I think it's a great way to allow your imagination to run wild. So reading more books, fiction and nonfiction, educational and recreational, definitely on the list of habits that I have actually been pretty good at and I would like to continue forward with. Habit number 10 is a tough one, and it is to be more social. I think that the older you get, the harder it can be to make friends, at least to make genuine friends. When you're young, making friends is kind of easy, it's almost to a funny degree. You find kids at the park, you find kids in your class, you have one shared interest, maybe you like the same TV show, maybe you have the same favorite color, it could be something super basic like that, and you connect over that thing, and now you guys have a thing in common and you're buddies.
Hi!
Sup? Who's that?
I don't know, some kid.
The truth is that young people are incredibly simplistic, and so you don't have a lot of intricacies and differences. You don't have political opinions, you don't have different ethical philosophies, you don't have different worldviews yet because your worldview hasn't developed. And so it's very easy to connect with people and find shared interests and befriend those people. But often what happens, and I think this is something that a lot of people find out as they get older, is even the friends that you had from when you were very young, as you become older, you become different people, and sometimes those friendships drift apart or dissolve. And particularly finding friends as an adult, making new relationships and new friendships is very difficult. I think that a lot of people meet their friends in college or university, and I personally never went to college or university. I think a lot of people meet their friends at work, and at the time when I was working retail jobs and I was working with other people around my age, I did make friendships, but again, those friendships were complicated. They were very niche friendships where we saw each other a lot, we hung out a lot at work, we sometimes hung out outside of work too, but once I stopped working at that place and the other people stopped working at that place and they went their way and I went my way, we kind of just drifted apart. And so now as a 29-year-old, I find that I've had more or less the same group of friends since high school. I have, a handful of friends that I've known for a very long time who I'm still very good friends with, but I don't see very often. And I would like to be able to make new friends and meet new people and expand my social horizons. But it's difficult. You have to make a concerted effort to go out and to go places where you're going to meet people who have similar interests than you. That might mean taking a class or doing a course, or I don't even know what else. So honestly, if any of you guys are watching and you're in your 20s or 30s or 40s, if you're an adult and you have any tips for making new friends and meeting new people who are like you and who have similar shared interests as you, by all means, drop me a comment down below and let me know, because I would love to know. I feel like dating has changed a lot with the revolution of dating apps, and I recognize that there's apps for friendships too, and I suppose that's an avenue I could explore, but I find it, I don't know, a little uncomfortable. Maybe I'm just not there yet mentally. I haven't kind of gotten over that weird hump of this is what friendship and socializing looks like in 2021. But it makes me wonder how adults go about meeting new friends. So if you have friends, if you're an adult and you have friends who you didn't know from university or college or high school or work, if you have friends who you've met in other circumstances or other situations, please drop me a comment down below. Let me know where you met them, how you guys became connected, and how you became close friends ultimately, because that's something that I would really like to get better at and really get to understand.
Like, whatever.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Yeah, all right.
So those are the 10 habits that I am actively working on. Habits I've been working on for years in the past, habits I will probably be working on for years in the future, habits that are certainly not exclusive to a New Year's resolution. Habit forming is an ongoing process. Building your person, building your personality, working on personal growth is an ongoing process. And so if any of these 10 habits are applicable to you, leave me a comment down below and let me know which ones you're working on. If you are working on building other habits and working towards other goals that I didn't mention, drop me a comment and let me know about those as well, because I would love to know what you've been working on, and chances are there's a lot of things that I should be working on that I didn't even mention or didn't even think of as of yet. And if you enjoyed this video at all, please go ahead and hit that like button. I really appreciate every single like that my videos get. I appreciate you guys watching. It really does mean a lot to me. As we near the end of the year, I am creeping up close to 500 subscribers now, which is super cool. I'm at about 480, and I'm really hoping that I can push forward to 500 and maybe even get there by the end of the year. We've got about another week to go. So if you could share this video with your friends and family, that would mean a lot to me. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Happy New Year, and I will see you guys next year, I guess. Next week, next year. Same. See you then.